In this video, I'm going to show you how to write the equation of a circle or graph a circle whose equation is already given. Now, the center of a circle is always going to be the opposite of the number here and the opposite of the number here. Well, there is no number with the x, so that means it's a 0. The opposite of this is -3. So that's why the center is 0, -3. This number is the radius squared. So if the radius squared is equal to 36, taking the square root of both sides tells us that the radius is 6. So using this information, the center is at 0, -3. All right, so 0, -3 is right here. So there's my center. If the radius is 6, that means if I go up 6, down 6, if I go right 6 and left 6, all four of these points should be on the circle. So now I can just go ahead and draw that circle. All right, so there's the graph. So let's take a look at problem number 6. Okay, I can just use my common sense and inspection to figure out what the center of the circle is. Okay, this seems to be the center of the circle right here, just using my visual abilities. So that's the point 2, 1. So the center is 2, 1. So let's write that down. Now, what's the radius? So looking at this center that I just made, if I go out to the edge of the circle, I'm going over 4. So the radius is 4. And it helps me see that I picked the right number, because if I go 4 up, 4 left, 4 down, all of those put me on the circle. So the radius is 4. Okay, so now the equation. The equation of a circle goes x minus the first coordinate squared plus y minus the second coordinate squared. Now here goes the radius squared. So I'm not going to put 4, I'm going to put 16. Notice that if this was a -2, I would have +2 right here. Okay, so that was number 6. For number 7, we're told that a circle has its center at 3, 2. So they're telling us the center is 3, 2. Right away, that tells us that the left side of the equation is going to be x minus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared. So all I need is the radius. So I might as well graph this. So 3, 2 is the center, so my center is right there. But this circle is tangent to the y-axis. That means if I were to graph like a rough sketch of this circle, okay, it would go like something like this. All right, now this is a rough sketch, but I'm being careful to make sure that it touches the y-axis. All right, and the point where it touches is going to be even with the center. So if the center is here at a y value of 2, then the point of tangency is also going to be at 2. Okay, so this is a point on the circle, the point of tangency. Okay, and that point is 0, 2. Okay, actually, that doesn't matter. The only thing I need right now is the radius. So the distance from the center to the y-axis where it touches is 3. So that's all I really needed. I needed to know that the radius was 3 so that I know that this will be 9 because it's the radius squared. Okay, so that is the answer to number 7. Okay, looking at number 8. The diameter has these endpoints. Okay, so let me graph those endpoints real quick. So I have 2 comma negative 5. All right, 2 comma negative 5. That's one endpoint. And then I have negative 6 comma negative 5. So negative 6, negative 5 is right here. So that means the diameter is going to be right here. Okay, that is the diameter. I feel like changing the color. Okay, that blue line is the diameter. So that means the center of the circle should be right in the middle of this. Okay, so what do I have here? Is it here? Let's see, that would make it 4 to the right and 4 to the left. So this is the center right here. Because understand this, guys, when they say this is the diameter, remember, here's just a rough sketch of this thing. All right, just the roughest of sketches. The diameter goes from one side of the circle to the other through the center. Okay, so the midpoint of the diameter is always going to be the center of the circle. Now, what are the coordinates of that center? Negative 2 comma negative 5. Okay, so the center is negative 2 comma negative 5. What's the radius? Well, the radius is this distance from the center out to one of the endpoints. That's 4. So the radius is 4. So looking at this, let me switch colors back. Because of the negative 2, I can put x plus 2 squared. Because of the negative 5, I can put y plus 5 squared. All right, it's always the opposite of these. And because of the 4, I'll put 16, because this number is the radius squared. So that's the answer to number 8. Okay, what about number 9? Write the equation of a circle that is centered at 2 comma 1. So they're telling me the center is 2 comma 1, which tells me that the equation will start off x minus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared. And it includes the point 2 comma 6. So all I need to find right now is the radius. So I can find the radius squared. In fact, I'm probably going to end up finding the radius squared first. But this is the thing I need to find. The easiest way to find the radius squared is to take a point that's on the circle and plug it in. All right, plug it into what we have so far. So I'm going to plug it in here and here. Because all this should equal the radius squared. So if I plug in the 2, okay, that's going to give me 2 minus 2 squared. Now if I plug in the y value, which is 6, that's 6 minus 1 squared. And that will equal the radius squared. Okay, so that's going to be 0 squared. 6 minus 1 is 5. That's going to be 5 squared. And that should equal the radius squared. Well, 0 squared is just 0. So really, I just have 5 squared is equal to the radius squared. So that means 25 is equal to the radius squared. So I now know that the radius squared is 25. Now, the radius is going to be 5. So let me switch colors back. All right, if the radius squared is 25, the radius is 5. But as far as the number that goes right here at the end of the equation, this is the radius squared. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the 25 right here. Now, to me, that's the easiest way to do it. Here's another way you could do it. All right, if you're not comfortable with that whole plugging in the point to find the radius squared, I guess that does confuse some students. I could make the graph. So the center is the point 2 comma 1. Okay, so here's the center. Now, the point 2 comma 6 is a point on the circle. Okay? So 2 comma 6 is right here. It's on the circle. All right? So if I did a rough sketch of the circle, all right, that's the center. This is a point on the circle. I could go like this. All right? This is just a rough sketch. But that tells me that the radius is going to go from here to here. Okay, so I could just count the square. This happens to be vertical, which does make this pretty darn easy. So the radius turns out to be 5. I can just get that by counting these squares. And then the r squared would be 25. So because it turned out to be vertical, maybe this was the easier way. On this problem, we're given the equation of a circle in general form, and we need to convert it to standard form, the form that has the parentheses in it. So your first step is you need to write the terms that have x's in them next to each other. So this is going to become x squared plus 2x. Now I'm going to leave a space right here. I'm going to leave a gap. And then comes the plus y squared. All right, there are no other y terms. Okay, so that's going to equal 20. Because there are no other y terms, I'm not going to have to fill in any blanks. I don't have to complete the square. I'm only going to do it once. So I'm going to take this and form it into a binomial squared. Okay, and I'm just going to wind up bringing down the y squared. So the binomial is going to be x plus, right, because of what I have here. But the number is half of this, so it'll be x plus 1. Now, if I take this 1 and I square it, that's what goes in the blank. Okay, so that's why I'm going to put a plus 1 right here. This green number is always positive because I'm squaring something. And a big mistake is forgetting that I need to also add it on the right-hand side. So for that reason, I'm going to have 21 over here on the right. So that's it. I don't have to do anything with the y squared. The y squared is fine the way it is. Okay, so maybe I'll just recopy. So I have x plus 1 squared plus y squared is equal to 21. That means that the center is -1, comma 0, the opposite of this, comma opposite of this. There's no number, that's why I put 0. The radius, well, this is the radius squared. So the radius is going to be the square root of 21. Okay, they said round to 1 decimal place, so maybe they expect me to make the decimal approximation. So I can do that for them. Okay, so the square root of 21, 1 decimal place. Okay, so 4.6, got to round up. All right, for number 11, same thing. We need to rewrite this equation, converting it into standard form, which has the parentheses in it. Now, I do not like the fact that the leading coefficient of 3, I want to make that go away. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide everything by 3. All right, so I'm going to divide by 3, 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 and even I will divide this by 3. So that's going to give me x squared plus y squared plus 10x minus 6y plus 30 is equal to 0. So now I need to go through this thing, and as I mentioned before, the x terms need to be written side by side. So I'm going to write this and this next to each other. Now this time I have more than one y term as well. So I'm going to have to write these side by side. Also, this 30 on the last problem, the constant was already on the other side of the equation. Okay, so on this problem, I'm going to have to take that 30 and move it out of the way. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to end up with x squared plus 10x, all right, I'm writing these side by side, leave a space, plus y squared minus 6y, I wrote the blue one side by side, all right, leave a space. This is going to equal negative 30, because I subtracted 30 from both sides. So, as you can see, I need to complete the square twice this time, because I have not only y squared, but I have also this other y term. So I'm going to write parentheses squared here, and I'm going to also put parentheses squared here. So inside of the first set of parentheses will be x plus 5. The plus 5 is half of this. In the side of the second parentheses will be y minus 3. That's half of negative 6. Okay, now as far as filling in the blank, I square this and I get 25. So 25 goes here in the blank. I square negative 3 and I get positive 9. All right, remember, a negative times a negative is a positive, so this will be positive 9. Now I need to be careful to add both of those numbers to the right-hand side as well. So I'm going to have to add 25 and 9 to the right-hand side also. So if I were to do negative 30 plus 25 plus 9, well, that's 4. All right, so at the end of the day, I end up with 4 right here. So let's see. So I had x plus 5 squared plus y minus 3 squared is equal to 4. Yeah. So that means the center is going to be negative 5 comma positive 3. It's the opposite of this and the opposite of this. The radius is going to be 2. All right, because this is the radius squared, so we take the square root. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Go ahead and click here in the red apple to watch the next video. Click in the green apple to subscribe, or click the yellow apple for the full playlist.